All right, guys. In this video, what I want to do is show you what to expect out of the color mount when you're using the Swift FARO Swift setup, and what the data looks like after you've compiled everything. So, if you go into your Explore tab, you can notice that I have about 75 scans. They were all done in probably around 30 minutes, somewhere there. So I have this many scans over here, many anchor scans. Each one of these anchor scans has color associated with it because I had the color mount attached to it. I also did 3 stationary scans apparently. And when you look at the data, this is what the data looks like after it's been compiled and registered. Again, registration, you don't need to see, but I mean, it's just cloud-to-cloud registration. And for some reason, it's loading very slowly today. But it says, okay, 1.6 millimeters. And of course, I can tweak it. But the goal of the video was to just show you what to expect. So when you look at each scan, there's an anchor scan, and there's an anchor scan, and there's another anchor scan, and keep on going, of course. This is what the data looks like after you've compiled it. And needless to say, I actually did create a point cloud, project point cloud out of this thing. So it does look a little bit better this way than if you look at it in the raw view, which is right here. So this is the uncleaned raw view from the program actually putting all of those data sets on top of each other. So it looks uglier, of course. That's what we're used to seeing when you're seeing the project point cloud. But essentially, the purpose of this was just to show you what it looks like. The one thing that will probably be a surprise to a lot of the guys is the fact that when you are working with this, you are going to be dealing with more shadowing than what you're used to before. So if I, for example, pick up this scan and I view it, and this is an anchor scan, I guess anchor scan 006 and number 30. When you pivot around, first of all, you see my face here somewhere. There it is, and you get blocked out. So, I mean, this is already your first clue to the data behind where you're standing is going to be omitted, meaning you will have a shadow there. So if I go into 3D view of the same scan, turning into that same spot where my body was, you can see that there's no data there. So there's a void. But you can also notice that because there's a mount, and this mount hosts the camera which colorizes everything that you see in the review, this mount has a certain thickness to it too. This mount is also omitted as far as data. So when I turn there, and let me do it the other way around, let me get there again, and when I turn to my right, notice there's this band of information that's missing. So you need to be aware of the fact that there's going to be a continuous band like this that's perfectly in line with the actual color mount, and there's going to be data missing where you were standing. And that's good, but at the same time bad, of course, because you're using or you're expecting this data to be filled in by a 360 scanner. Now, there's also one more thing that I haven't pointed out yet, and that is, again, by nature of how the program compiles the data. If you look down, you'll notice that there's your typical shadow, which is depicted by the seen little pin or what is it, sticker that's here. I am also seeing this extra band, which is just black. And I know this is something that a lot of guys don't expect, because that is data that was captured with a scanner but wasn't colorized. And because it wasn't colorized, it also is omitted from the actual raw data. So when you look at the 3D scan data, notice there is no data right underneath you over here. And it's a much bigger footprint than what you're used to seeing before. So when using color, when using the PanoCam and the Swift color option, you have to be aware of the fact that your ground stuff might get less data than what you're used to because of the larger footprint and the data missing underneath the actual scanner. But because of the fact that you're taking 10-second scans and a 10-second scan and a 10-second scan, eventually you will, fill in the information. But there's way more information above than there's actually below the actual scanner. So it is something that might cause you to maybe rethink this, maybe not use the color all the time. Having the color mount and having the PanoCam and having it on top of each other and having the ability to do color is nice, but you can always turn it off. If you turn it off, you don't have to use the PanoCam mount. At that point, you get only grayscale stuff, but your shadows are going to be smaller and you will not have that mount in the view. So hopefully this was a useful video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below.